John McCulloch Show here on News Talk 1400, The Patriot. And I welcome into the studio a special guest, Karen Egrin. Karen, welcome.
Thank you, John.
It's nice to have you here. And I'm kind of interested as to why you're here. In other words, why are you here now? You're coming forward with an incredible story. Why now?
I'm here to show what a nice guy Mitt Romney was, and I believe he still is. Very compassionate and caring man. And back in the early 60s, I was invited to a church dance at his church, which was Church of the Latter-day Saints, by a neighbor, girlfriend of mine, Linda Snow. And I remember clearly I wore a poodle skirt, and her father drove us. It was before we had our driver's license. And I remember going to the dance and sitting by the wall. And Linda was off dancing.
Why were you sitting by the wall?
Because I think I was a wallflower. Back then I was pretty shy, chubby. I was a Jewish girl in a Mormon church feeling very uncomfortable. And the next thing you know, the best looking guy in the room came up and asked me to dance. Well, lo and behold, it was Mitt Romney. And he just made me feel so special. He absolutely made my night. And it was a terrific party. They had orchids and dance cards. And I don't think Mitt would remember dancing with me, but I would bet he would remember that party at the church, because the orchids just blew me away. And it's something that I always remembered. I brought home my mementos. I put them in a special little box. And then about a year and a half later, our house burnt down.
Oh,
that was in Huntington Woods. And that's basically the story. But I hear all these negative things about Mitt, and I don't believe it. Now, I must say I've always been a lifelong Democrat, but not this time. This time he's got my vote.
Mitt Romney.
Mitt Romney's got my vote.
Does he know that you are coming out and talking to us?
I don't think he would know. I mean, he'd have to be clairvoyant.
Did you know when you accepted the invitation to go with your girlfriend that he was going to be there?
No.
At the time, he was the governor's son, wasn't he?
He was, and I know that I don't even know until maybe after the dance was over that somebody told me who he was. All I knew is he was the best looking guy in the room.
What did he say to you that made it so special? That made it.
He asked me to dance, and I said, I'm Jewish. And he said, that's okay. That's okay. And I said back to him, well, I don't think we're really that different. And he said no, and then we danced. I might have even stepped on his toe. I really don't know, but he did. He just made me feel so special, and he rescued me, basically. He rescued me.
What did you think when you saw him walking towards you?
I looked over my shoulder. I thought maybe he was going to ask somebody else to dance. I didn't think he was coming toward me, so it was a shock.
And you were standing there, I guess, pretty much by yourself.
By myself. My girlfriend was off dancing. Everybody was off dancing, and I was sitting there feeling very self-conscious in the poodle skirt.
In the poodle skirt, which
right.
Unfortunately, here I go, but I remember well. So it's not something that a lot of the people in the audience would actually know, and I'm sure that it's not something a lot of the people in the audience would wear today.
Right.
But that's beside the point. Now, when you think back, and this is 50 years ago.
Yes, it is.
Does it seem, is it that clear in your mind, or is this something that's a little foggy?
Bits and pieces are very clear. The orchids, certain things stand out. The church had a reflection pool. It was incredible. Now I know they filled it in. Just certain things I remember. I mostly remember how I felt.
Mm-hmm. And when he asked you to dance, how did you respond?
I said, sure.
Why not? It's a dance. Right? Was it a fast dance or a slow dance?
It was a slow dance, and back then we didn't do, your own dance. I mean, people, he took me in his arms and we danced. And like I say, I might have stepped on his toe. I mean, I've always been pretty klutzy. So.
When you hear the descriptions that they've tried to paint, that the other side is saying that Mitt Romney is a spoiled little rich kid,
I shake my head.
silver spoon in his mouth, and also a bully,
No,
and somebody who picks on people who aren't like him.
no, don't believe it. He was very compassionate, very caring, very nice man. A young man, I should say.
When you talked to me before, when I first was introduced to you, and I asked you a question, and you answered, and I guess I can't remember the question, which is why I'm giving you the answer.
Okay.
You said it changed my life. What did you mean by that?
Well, I was so shy, and I just felt like I didn't belong. But he made me feel, yes, you do. You're part of this community. And I did. He was special. That's all.
Are you still basking in the afterglow a little bit, do you think?
Well, now, I can't say that over the years I thought about it. Not until his name came up again. Although I shouldn't say that, because I have talked over, many times I've told my story to friends and friends of friends, and, to get a little something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Let's
on
talk
his
about that
coattail.
for just a second, because I know, and I'm not telling anything that's out of school, that the Jewish community, for the most part, has been voting Democratic for years. A lot of us sit back and scratch our heads at
Right.
that. We don't get it, but that's what they do. And so when you are telling this story to your compatriots, I'm sure some of them are Jewish.
Right.
How do they react to that? Or do they ever ask?
Well, they say, what, you're voting for a guy because he danced with you? So, well, it's a lot more than just a dance. I said he made me feel welcome, and I was feeling pretty lousy, and he basically was my champion. So, I don't know that I'm going to influence them to change their vote, but I'm here to say he's a nice guy. And I'd rather have a nice guy that has compassion in the office than what we have right now.
Now, you mentioned that he's a nice guy, but one of the other things that they've been trying to paint the picture throughout this whole thing is that, and I heard it on the radio today, some caller to one of the shows said, well, he just doesn't get it. He can't relate to the common man. He's up there in his ivory tower, and that's all he knows, and he doesn't really care what happens to people who are not rich and who are not famous, and that's the people he can't relate to like me, Joe Lunchbucket.
No, I have a real hard time believing that. He was a nice guy, went to church, had a ton of friends. I don't think if you're a spoiled, rotten brat, people are going to, circle around you and want to be with you. And he seemed like he was probably the most popular guy there, too.
I don't suppose some of that could have had to do with the fact that he was the governor's son, but
I didn't get that impression.
well, no, and the thing that I have found, especially in gatherings of Mormons, I went through basic training at IBM back in another life with a Mormon kid from he was from Salt Lake, and when he was with us, he was just fine, and he had we didn't know. He had to tell us, and I'll tell you how he told us. Because we were all, after the first class, it was a Friday, we got into New York City on a Friday, and after we had our orientation a little bit, we all said, well, let's go out and see what it's like at some of these great New York City bars. And his name was Chris, oddly enough, and he said, Christopher, he said, I can go with you. He said, but I don't drink, and my religion doesn't permit me to, and I don't. As a matter of fact, I don't even drink coffee. And we all just sort of, well, what is this? And so he explained the whole thing to us. And then later on, when we had family and friends come up to New York there was like a graduation ceremony, and he was amongst his people, they all mingled together with the rest of us. You would never have known.
Right.
And I just wanted to see if your description was similar, and it is.
It is. It is. I just remember him making me feel very comfortable, and I I felt like it was something that I remembered. I mean, this is 50 years later, and I still remember it. So, you know.
If Mitt Romney were sitting right where I am right now,
Mm-hmm.
what would you say to him? What would you like to say to him that you've thought about all these years and you just haven't ever had a chance to say?
I think I would say, Mitt, did you ask me to dance because you felt sorry for me? That's what and I would hope that he would say, no, I thought you were cute. That's what I would say.
You know, that's cute too. that really is. And just while we're here, and let's say this again, you are a Jewish voter in Michigan, and you are voting for Mitt Romney.
Absolutely. I already voted. Actually, I voted today. I sent it off. I'm a senior. I get to have a ballot sent to the house.
Well, you don't strike me as a senior.
Well, thank you.
You're not what I expected, actually, from the time frame that we're talking about. But I bet you get that a lot.
Well, I'm going to be collecting. Well, I'm going on Social Security very soon.
Well, it doesn't seem that way, and I hope that he does get elected so that you keep getting those checks.
Oh, I hope that he's elected too.
Yeah.
And Mitt, if you see this, hi.
He's going to see it, or his campaign is. We're going to send it to him.
Remember me?
Karen Egrin, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you, John. It's my pleasure.
It's a pleasure to meet you, and it's a pleasure to hear the story and to see the sparkle in your eye when you tell it. It's. I wish I had a camera here. I wish we were on TV. It would be a neat thing to see. In any case, thanks again for coming in, and the best of luck to you.
Thank you.
We'll see if we can have a victory party on.
Oh, wouldn't that be terrific?
On that Tuesday night, and let's hope that we do. Our telephone number.